Good morning students. In the previous video we have talked about KitKat Club, whose members of the groups were Joseph Edison, Richard Steele, William Congreve, you can say John Locke, Robert Walpole, Marlborough, etc. And now in this video we are going to discuss another group which was opposite to this KitKat Club, and that is Scriblerus Club. Alright, so in 1709, the members from this KitKat Club like Richard Steele and Edison came out with the magazines like Tatler and Spectator which came in 1712, and during the same time, after 1 or 3 years, around 1713, 1714, a new group was formed which was named as Scriblerus Group or Scriblerus Club. The founder of this Scriblerus Club was Jonathan Swift, and a quite astonishing fact about this particular club was that the writers, the members of this particular club, Scriblerus Club, never talked, never met each other. They always used to communicate through letters, through messages. They never came into contact. They tried to avoid coming in contact with each other, because the writers like Jonathan Swift, Alexander Pope, Dr. Arbuthnot, and John Gay, Thomas Parnell, all these 5 to 6 members of these groups were very aggressive. All these writers never liked the company of anyone, so they were afraid that if they meet each other, it might cause in the split of this particular group. So most of the talks they do through letters and try to avoid meeting each other. Yes, they used to meet seldomly, but they try to do all the conversation through letters because they were so much aggressive. We have Jonathan Swift, who was a misanthrope, and then we have Alexander Pope, who was the greatest satirist. No one used to like Alexander Pope. And then we have John Gay, who is the author of The Beggar's Opera. He too was a satirist. So just because of the fear that they might get into some disagreements, some arguments, so they try to avoid meeting one another. So once again, let's look at the writers which are associated with Scriblerus Club are Alexander Pope, Jonathan Swift, John Gay, Thomas Parnell, and John Arbuthnot. So in this video we are going to talk about the Scriblerus Club, and we are also going to talk about the points which are important from UGC-NET perspective. So before we continue our discussion on this particular literary movement, if you're one of those students who are preparing for UGC-NET examination or GATE examination in English literature, then you can simply check out our study material from our official website limitlessliterature.com. Check the link in the description below to know more about our study material. Now, without any further delay, let's continue our discussion on this literary movement. So the members of Scriblerus Group has one thing in common, and that is that they were seeking civilized society by revealing the hypocrisy, by revealing the corruption, by revealing the injustice that was happening during the time they were living in. For instance, we have a novel written by Jonathan Swift. His novel Gulliver's Travel also satirized the type of society they were living in. And then we have John Gay's The Beggar's Opera. The Beggar's Opera too focuses on themes that it does not matter whether you are rich or you are poor, what kind of people have in the society, whether rich or poor. Nothing matters in the society. Everyone, every single person in the society is selfish and working for his own benefits. The same work, The Beggar's Opera, question the marriage, the concept of marriage, the term marriage, that marriage is not something, the union of true lovers. It is by means through which a man satisfies his lust. People do marriages just to fulfill their hunger. They do marriages to fulfill their financial support. The very first thing a man or a woman looks into his partner, how much stable he is, how much financially stable he is or she is during the period of time. Love has nothing to do with the marriages. So John Gay tries to argue, tries to point out the hypocrisy of the civilized, the so-called civilized society. And then we have Alexander Pope, who was a one-man army, who never felt afraid of anyone. Throughout his life, he made a lot of enemies. He was deeply lonely. He never felt afraid while speaking the truths. It is said that Alexander Pope used to keep revolver in his pocket for self-defense. His work, The Dunciad, is also a satire on the so-called civilized society, and this work, The Dunciad, was dedicated to Jonathan Swift. So Jonathan Swift said that the Beggar's Opera knocked down the Gulliver's Travel, and better than this Beggar's Opera and Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travel was Dunciad of Alexander Pope. At that time, Gulliver's Travels came first, and then came Beggar's Opera, and then came Dunciad. So every satire was much more violent as compared to the previous one. So more or less all the members from Scriblerus Club were writing satires. In the same way, we have Erasmus' Praise of Folly, or you can say Thomas More's Utopia, or you can say Don Quixote of written by Miguel de Cervantes. Okay, so these were also the type of satires, and in the same fashion, the writers from Scriblerus Club were writing their own satires. They even created a fictional character, Martinus Scriblerus. So this particular Martinus Scriblerus became the mouthpiece from which they used to create more and more satires. They compiled all the works through which they were using the satires and published them into an anthology titled Memoirs of Martinus Scriblerus. And quite actual meaning of Scriblerus is the one who scribbles. The talentless writer, that is the meaning of Scriblerus. So Alexander Pope, Jonathan Swift, and all other writers from this particular group, Scriblerus groups, are calling every other writer, every other poet, contemporary poet, as talentless. As I have just mentioned, these writers were deeply lonely, and they were in a sort of violent friendship with one another. Just like we have violent lovers. Yes, violent lovers are much more engaged in themselves, and they keep on loving, they keep on making love violently with each other. The same way we have violent friendship. They kept on producing the works, they kept on writing the satires violently and making the whole world before them walking in their footsteps. These writers did not have any grudges with the people. They were not opposing the humanity. In fact, they were writing the satires just to reform the society. They were writing the satires to reveal the hypocrisy, the fakeness of the society. More or less, they were bringing the revolution in the society to make the society a better place to live. They were very good writers and the master of their profession. And that is why we study them in the history of English literature. So don't forget to read all the 4 to 5 writers, these writers from this particular group, Scriblerus Club. Don't forget to read any one of them. These all are important, and a lot of times they were questioned in the previous year UGC-NET examination. So this is what I have to share in this video. I hope you found the video worth your time. That's it for this video. Thank you.